Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and well, it's that time of the year. It is December 31st, 2022, which means it is now time to go over the entire set wave offerings for January 1st, 2023, talking about the good, the bad, and the expensive when it comes to LEGO's assortment for the first half of the year. Now, typically we do these kinds of videos broken up by theme, and this will be no different. So if you're only interested in specific themes, definitely check out the timestamps linked in the description below. I will be going through every single set of every single theme, giving my quick thoughts, my thoughts on how affordable they are, how much they make sense, how much I like the set or dislike the set. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts at the end of the video, so do comment below. What are your most anticipated sets for 2023's first wave? I can't wait to showcase all of them for all of you, and I'm really interested to hear what folks are interested in getting. So this is going to be a long one, so let's just jump right into things, starting off with our first theme.
Okay, so to kick things off here, let's get the elephant out of the room. There is a lot to cover here. There's in fact over 180 brand new sets releasing on January 1st, 2023, so I will try to keep this as short and sweet as possible. Of course, if you only are interested in specific themes, do go to the link in the description below. I have timestamps which cover each and every individual theme. So let's say, for example, you only want to hear my thoughts on the Ninjago sets, or Star Wars sets, or Super Mario sets, you can just go on to the description and click on the description link below. I will be going in pretty much a random order for the themes, but you can see that order down in the description, so again, you can only see and pay attention to the ones that you want to check out. We will be starting off with the GWPs, or gift with purchase sets. If you don't know how these work, typically LEGO does these fairly often, probably usually a couple times a month, where they'll give you a free set in exchange for buying a certain amount of money for LEGO. Now, the thing is, at the time I'm recording this video, not all the information on January's GWPs are public. There are rumors surrounding stuff that's going to be coming out midway through the month, and there are rumors surrounding stuff that has been revealed, but we're not quite sure in terms of the price limit that you need to spend to get them. So I'll be going off of what I know at the moment, but of course, all of the more up-to-date information will be revealed as they actually come out. And don't worry, Bionicle fans, yes, the Bionicle GWP might be coming. I am part of the LEGO Ambassador Network, so I can't officially say yes or no whether it's coming or not, but hypothetically, if it was coming, you would be seeing a video on my channel the moment that more information is released. So, without further ado, I think we can just start off with the first gift with purchase set, which I think is easily the most anticipated one for me. Well, maybe the second most anticipated one of the month. This is set number 40580, Blacktron Cruiser. So if you aren't aware, Blacktron was a much-loved sub-theme of LEGO Space. It pretty much came just after Classic Space and Futron, and they were essentially the original LEGO Space bad guys. They had a really cool color scheme and logo with the black and transparent yellow, a little bit of transparent red, and obviously you've got that upside-down Zelda Triforce logo as well as the main emblem of the Blacktron lineup, and this is a direct remake of the original Invader set from the 1980s. It's really cool to put these side by side and just see exactly how close it is to the original while still retaining a lot of modern building techniques. And I really hope that LEGO will continue to do stuff like this for gift with purchase sets. The last one that we got was the Forest Hideout just this year in August 2022, which was a wonderful update to a classic LEGO castle set, and now we have a Blacktron set as a free gift with purchase as well. Now, the only unfortunate thing here is that if rumors are to be believed, in order to obtain this set, you will need to spend at least $190 US. That will probably translate to something I would guess around 150 to 180 euros and British pounds. The exact numbers have not been revealed yet. LEGO has only basically just revealed the set itself again at the time of this recording, but it's probably going to be a pretty expensive tier to get this rather large set. The good thing is, gift with purchase sets are typically not too expensive on Bricklink. If I had to guess, this will probably go on Bricklink for around the same price as the Forest Hideout set. In the first few weeks of its release, it was selling for around $40, and now after a few months, it's kind of gone down to around $20. So if you're willing to wait, this set will probably be around $20 to $25 on Bricklink, which is officially owned by LEGO. It's the secondhand market for LEGO. If you just want to wait for it and not spend $190 on LEGO you might not want just to get this one set. That being said, this is a phenomenal set. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. It is really cool how they managed to still include the modularity aspect to it, where you have each and every different module being able to swap out for the container cargo, as well as the back wings and the main detachable jet at the front. It's just so cool to get this as a remake, and I am a big fan of Blacktron. Obviously, I'm a little bit too young to have grown up with Blacktron when it was first coming out, but I did actually grow up with it because I got a lot of secondhand sets from relatives, and Blacktron is actually one of the main reasons why I got into LEGO, because I was so enamored by the color scheme and the kind of classic style of builds, so it's so cool to get a modern nod to this in 2023.
First things first, before we get started, if folks are curious, I've actually already put together a list of all of these sets that I plan to purchase on January 1st. Of course, I do already own a lot of these sets because of the LEGO Ambassador Network, but I have kind of listed the ones I already own or will be getting from the LAN, and I've listed everything else I do plan to get. If people are crazy like me and want to maximize the amount of Blacktron GWPs you can actually get here, I believe I can get close to 14 different GWPs if I actually play this correctly. I've already done the math and managed to hash out all of these sets that I wanted and break them up into the perfect price increments to get multiple copies of the free gift with purchase, and I specifically wanted a ton of them because I love Blacktron. I am wanting to make a massive LEGO Blacktron fleet to be hanging from my ceiling. I already do have a lot of different copies of the original Invader set hanging from my ceiling. I think it'd be really cool to have just a massive fleet of them to support the main kind of Blacktron mothership. So in that pursuit, I have done my best to literally break up my orders in as many different groupings as possible. What I will do is I will go on shop.lego.com and I will place individual orders, specifically 14 individual orders, all of them retailing for around $193 to $195. Again, because the rumored purchase threshold for the Blacktron GWP is $190, and that way I theoretically should be able to get 14 of them. So if you're an insane LEGO collector like I am and want to get basically everything that LEGO's putting out, this is the perfect, most optimized way to actually maximize the number of GWPs you're getting. Unfortunately, the thing is, you can't really go into a LEGO store and do this. Last time I did this, they only gave me like 2 and I should have gotten like 10. So I definitely will be placing a lot of these orders online because I do want to maximize the multiple different copies of the ship that I get. But again, it is up to you to see what you want to do. But if you're curious about what I'm buying, this is the exact list.
But with that, we can move on to the next gift with purchase set. This is set number 40575, Year of the Rabbit.
Now, much like some of the later GWPs of this month, we do not know the exact details for this, but the current rumor is that you need to spend at least $85 between the time window of January 15th to 25th in order to get this as a free gift. It's in line with the other special year of these particular animals that LEGO has done for the Lunar New Year before, and it's nice to get a continuation of the series, and I just presume this is going to be the same as usual. There's yet another free gift with purchase coming in January, again in the window of January 15th to 25. This is the LEGO Houses of the World set with purchases over $250, so you do have to spend $250 to get it. This is actually set number 40583, Houses of the World 1, which depicts there's going to be a 2 and 3, because specifically this depicts a Latin American house with a palm tree and chihuahua being featured for the main build, so I'm assuming that LEGO will continue to do these gift with purchases throughout perhaps the year or even the future years to give us different houses from different cultures around the world, which I think is a really cool idea. Unfortunately, this feels like it's a little bit under minifigure scale. It's kind of micro scale, but for a free gift, it gets the point across, and I do kind of wish that this was able to include maybe some attachment points. If they continue to make these, it would be really fun to be able to attach them in a street. But again, it is LEGO, and you can very easily just attach them yourself if you want to. Overall, the build for this is really fun. $250 though to get it is really high, especially dropping in the middle of January where most people will have already made most of their LEGO purchases. That feels a little bit strange to me. I definitely would have preferred this to actually drop on the 1st of January because, again, we're getting the Blacktron Cruiser for $190, but this is a completely different price point. And I don't know what diehard LEGO fans spending $250 are doing buying sets in the middle of January versus the beginning, but hey, maybe that's part of LEGO's strategy to convince people to buy sets they maybe wouldn't have otherwise gotten just to get a free gift. Overall, this is a nice build, a very fun concept, and I can't wait to see the future sets in the series. But of course, there is one more gift with purchase. The heavily rumored LEGO Bionicle GWP with purchases over $100 between January 27 to February 9. Now again, all of these so far are just rumors, so do take them with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to the exact details if you need to purchase them based on specific themes or specific price windows, but this is the information we have so far for the rest of the GWPs of January. LEGO typically doesn't tend to reveal these pretty much right up until a few days before they're actually supposed to come out, so I wouldn't expect any particular news to come out regarding these until midway to the end of the month, but I just wanted to give folks a heads up in case there is one particular one people really want to get. Maybe it might be smart to hold off on purchasing stuff on January 1st and just waiting until the 15th or even the 27th to actually get the GWP that you want.
And moving on, there is finally one last gift with purchase for February. We do not know what it is. According to rumors, this will only be available if you purchase the modular building, so maybe hold off on purchasing it until February to get that. But with that, we can now move on to the actual sets that you can purchase with your own money. Starting off, we have set number 10312, the Jazz Club, and this is our brand new 2023 modular building. It retails for $230 or 230 euros and comes with 2,899 pieces. This is a really nice inclusion to the modular building line, featuring a dark red facade for the Jazz Club itself, as well as a bit of a side building with a pizza restaurant. The set itself features a ton of new prints, particularly and notably a brand new print for a margarita pizza, which is sounding delicious to me right about now, and it fits in remarkably well with the rest of the modular buildings along the street. Now this is a really nice modular building, again to fit in with the rest of them. It's interesting because in the development process they initially were trying to make it a dark blue building to fit with the, well, blues, but they figured the dark blue color scheme just wasn't that warm and inviting enough, so they changed it to dark red pretty late in the process, which is kind of the result of what you see here. You can see that there has been a lot of work and effort put into designing this set, and while it is a fairly standard style and layout of build, it's basically just a rectangular system, I really do appreciate the amount of effort that goes into making every single one of these unique. Although this might not be quite the standout in terms of building techniques like, say, last year's Boutique Hotel was, which had all sorts of crazy diagonal builds and kind of studs on the side construction, this is pretty much a standard building compared to that. It's nice to get a standard building once in a while to flesh out a city street, and this is just another great addition to the modular building lineup. For $230, the price is alright. It's basically what we've come to expect. Modular buildings have been becoming a lot more expensive nowadays, especially compared to what they used to be priced at, but the prices are still pretty okay for what you get. I would have liked $200, but $230 isn't that bad. But moving on from that, we can take a look continuing alongside the LEGO Creator line, because technically that is, although it's basically in the 18 plus line, I would group it in with the rest of the Creator stuff. We have our next set here, which is a really funny one. This is set number 11031, Creative Monkey Fun. And, you know, the title of the set basically says it all. This is a set where you can build all sorts of different monkeys in all sorts of different configurations and honestly just have fun with it. It's a really, really charming set. I am a really big fan of this, and for $10 or 10 euros, this is remarkably good value. It's not for everyone, but if you want to use a bunch of brown and black bricks to create a bunch of different monkeys, featuring what appears to be a lot of different new expressions for the 1x1 circular prints for the eyes, this is just a little nice and charming fun set to play around with. Moving on from this one, we have a couple other ones, because that technically was actually in the Classic line, although Classic and Creator are quite similar nowadays. We have our next set here, which is set number 31133, the White Rabbit. This is a set that retails for $20 or 20 euros, and while it isn't explicitly a Lunar New Year set, I think the timing of a buildable rabbit releasing alongside the 2023 Year of the Rabbit Lunar New Year stuff is definitely something that was very intentional for them to do, so I'm glad they're releasing it at this time. They've been doing these brick-built, medium-scale LEGO animals for Creator for quite a long time, although I think this is honestly one of the best ones yet. I love the way that this actually gets across the curves and the rounded aspects of a rabbit while still being built out of pretty much just standard LEGO bricks. No new bricks are being created for the set, but it is done really well. Again, this is set number 31133, retailing for $20, and for $20, I think this is a fantastic deal. It's a really nicely built rabbit, and I can expect this one to be very popular. So if you want to get your hands on it, I would recommend getting your hands on it pretty early. And if you take a look, this is a 3-in-1 set, and those alternate builds are just phenomenal. The seal and the bird just look really great, and it's so cool how you can build such radically different animals with the same exact parts palette. In fact, the bird is so good, I may actually get 2 copies of the set just to build that. It's that good. Moving on, we have just one more creator set, which is kind of odd. Typically, LEGO would do more stuff for creator, especially at the beginning of a year, but no, we just have one more. This is set number 31143, simply titled Birdhouse, retailing for $30 US. It is a larger scale brick-built birdhouse, which I think is okay. It's personally not my kind of thing, but it definitely is a charming little build for those who actually want to build their own birdhouses. And of course, it does come with a variety of different colors and flavors of birds, which you can see there. The alternate builds, I think, are just okay. The park bench is really nice. It's at a weird scale, but I do think the park bench is done pretty nicely. Although I'm not really sure what the box is supposed to be. I guess that's supposed to be a beehive. I'm not super convinced. It's not really the most interesting build for the final model there, but I think the main build is good enough such that it can be considered a good creator 3-in-1 set. All in all, this is a set that retails for $30, so it's not that big, and I think for $30, you're getting a lot of value here. With over 5 or even 6 different birds, it appears, plus a ton of alternate models, this is another winner for the creator 3-in-1 theme. Continuing alongside these kind of special one-off type of LEGO sets, we have a number of sets under the LEGO Creator banner, but they're basically just LEGO Store exclusives and whatnot. This is set number 40638, the Heart Ornament, retailing for $13 US. It is a very large brick-built heart for Valentine's Day, which I think is pretty neat. It's definitely not something that everybody would want, but it is a really nice build for what it is, and I think it's really cool how you can actually customize it with different pieces to rather emphasize the green aspect of it or to focus on the pinks and reds. Overall, for $13, I think you're actually getting a really nice type of build here, and I'm really curious to see how exactly it all comes together. I definitely will be wanting to pick this one up just because of how unique of a build it is. Next up, we have 40644, and this caused quite a stir when images were first released. It is our first LEGO Pinata build, and that means it is going to be a very, very popular one, especially for only $10. Now, this has a really fun feature where it does, of course, it has to split open like a real piñata down the center and reveal the 1x1 round tiles inside. It is so fun how multicolored it is, and it really is a very visually stunning thing to see on store shelves, and I definitely can see this being one of the most popular small-scale creator sets of this year. Moving on from that, we have yet another one. This is actually an 18 plus set. It only retails for $13, making it one of the cheapest 18 plus sets available. Set number 40646 is Daffodils. Now, I can probably understand this doesn't really need to be an 18 plus set, but they decided to market it that way to fit in with the rest of the botanical collection, and I appreciate they're doing smaller sets like this and continuing to do smaller entries into the botanical collection lineup. Now, you can see here that the building techniques are actually really interesting. They're using a lot of differently colored minifigure shield elements, such as the white and yellow ones to form the petals, although these stems aren't really that interesting, and I can definitely see this being a bit of a repetitive build. For $13, it's a nice, charming entry that isn't too bad in any sort of way. Moving on from that, we can now take a look at another one of the creator postcards. So this year, LEGO Creator introduced the postcards lineup, and they did one for London and for China, and now we're getting one for Australia, as well as one for Paris as well. This is set number 40651, retails for $15. Now, initially this one actually got a lot of criticism because despite a lot of the other postcard sets featuring some skylines and iconic buildings that you could see in the cities of their respective countries, for Australia you basically have a shack in the middle of the desert as well as a tree. So I guess that depicts some parts of Australia. It doesn't really show us anything of what the city looks like the Sydney Opera House. Australia definitely has a lot of iconic buildings they could have done here, but they just, for whatever reason, chose to give us a shack and a tree, which I guess they wanted to focus more on the wilderness aspect of Australia, but I think it's kind of funny how all of the other ones are majestic landscapes and city skylines and very iconic buildings, and this one's just a shack. So that's a little unfortunate for Australia, but it is what it is, and I think it's alright. I definitely will be picking it up because I'm trying to collect all of the postcard sets, but it does suck for folks who did want to actually get a actual realistic city vibe for Australia rather than just the stereotypical outback setting. Moving on from that, we have our first Lunar New Year specific set. This is set number 40648 Money Tree. This technically qualifies as a mix between the creator and seasonal line, so I'm kind of grouping it in here. And then we'll transition to the rest of the seasonal sets after this. This retails for $25 US, and it actually is providing pretty remarkable value if you look at it. This is a much larger tree than it may appear, and all of those pieces there are printed, from the red envelopes to the golden emblems. Every single one is printed. It's also got some drum lacquered gold elements on the side there, and even a brick built pot. So this is a really neat little set. For $25, I think the value is pretty perfect. It might not be that relatable to everyone, but for folks who do celebrate Chinese or Lunar New Year, of which there are many of us, this is definitely a very nice set to get. Moving onwards, we have two more absolutely fantastic Lunar New Year sets. LEGO consistently knocks it completely out of the park when it comes to these particular theme of sets ever since they started in around the 2019 to 2020 era, and these are absolutely no exception. Now, one is a lot more exciting than the other to me personally, but we'll start with the smaller one first, and it's arguably less exciting but still looks really good. This is set number 80110 Lunar New Year display, retailing for $90 US, which admittedly is really high for what you get. Sure, they are very intricate builds and they do look really good on display, but $90 just doesn't really feel like good value for a set like this, and it's especially striking because it only retails for 80 euros, which means that maybe LEGO's doing some weird shuffling with the prices there in the US. This, however, price aside, is a really nice display featuring some koi fish swimming around a pond, some specially printed decaled elements. Every single element here is printed, and for the first time we are getting the Encanto butterfly piece printed, which is wonderful to see. I really gravitate towards the flower petal build. I really do feel that that is a really interesting way to depict a flower, using some incredibly unique parts usages like the clamshells for the outer petals, and the new city splat pieces for the inner petals just look really good and work well. Overall, this is a really cool set to get. I like how unique and abstract it is as a display piece, but there is one more. And the next set here is one that is very exciting to me as a longtime LEGO fan. This is set number 80111, Lunar New Year Parade, retailing for $130 US, which is pretty good value, and 100 euros, which is insanely good value. I don't know why it's $30 basically more expensive in the US, but that is wonderful to see that particular value being applied to this set. 100 euros is wonderful. This is one of the best values I've ever seen on a set that especially comes out in this modern era. But what's really exciting about this set is something they don't even show off on the main image of the set, which is very strange. You can kind of see it tucked away in the back, but for the first time, LEGO has recolored the classic Spaceman air tanks and helmet in purple, matching the purple torso that we got with the particular collectible minifigure series from earlier this year. Now that is really cool to get, and I really appreciate how for a Lunar New Year float they actually were trying to give us something a little bit unique for each one. Sure, the LEGO one is probably the most out of place float on this, but it's cool to get kind of an in-universe nod to some actual LEGO floats that we see on stuff like the Thanksgiving Parade. And overall, this actually is hiding a lot of fun functions. When he rolled along, the rabbit actually moves up and down and side to side, which is very cool. The person banging the drum also pivots side to side when you roll it, so that is really cool. And of course, it does connect fully together, and some of those features are shown off on the back of the box. Now, the reason why they included these special classic Spaceman pieces is that the LEGO float is actually paying homage to classic LEGO themes, so you have a character dressed up as a pirate, as a knight, as a spaceman, and of course as Monkie Kid, because that makes total sense to include in a float like this. Overall, this is just such a fun set. I love the unique vinyl elements being included in the middle float. The only big shame is that unfortunately all of the decals here that you see, aside from really small stuff like the new rabbit eye, are stickers. For whatever reason, a lot of these decals did end up being stickers. Not really sure why LEGO chose to do that, because for all of the other Lunar New Year sets, every single decal we got was an exclusive print, and it especially hurts for some of the stuff where the stickers are repetitive. So I really would have preferred them actually doing prints for these that really did give these sets a more deluxe feeling, but hey. If it managed to get the price down to 99 euros by giving us stickers instead of prints, bring it on. I will always take a cheaper set that gives us a lot of stuff over prints, maybe artificially inflating the value of a set. But with that, we have summed up all of the classic, creator, and seasonal sets, which I kind of grouped together, and we can move on to our next theme.
Moving on from LEGO Classic and LEGO Creator, we can take a look at our only LEGO art set releasing on January 1st. This is set number 31208.
Hokusai The Great Wave retailing for $100 or 100 euros. This is a phenomenal build covering one of the most iconic artwork that originated from Japan. It's kind of cool because I'm actually literally in Japan right now recording this as we speak, so kind of interesting seeing this set being released at a pretty timely fashion for me. It contains 1,810 pieces and actually departs from what we typically are used to for the LEGO art theme. Instead of being just a simple mosaic of 1x1 studs, this actually uses a lot of unique brick-built detail, and I really appreciate that. Because to capture a work of art like this, I really feel like they needed to do something a little bit more than just the standard mosaic, and it really does get the point across with a build like this. This is a wonderful build that looks absolutely stunning on display. I actually really appreciate how the frame does have the white and tan border around it, making it really feel like a painting encapsulated on your wall. And while the $100 price is admittedly a little bit high personally, I think, for what you get, it definitely is a very large looking build. I would have to have it in hand to actually understand exactly how it looks like, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the overall look and feel of this build, and I can't wait to actually have this in hand and see if it is worth the value. But from there, we can now move on to the next theme, and of course, like always, Collectible Minifigures is getting a brand new series for 2023. So this is set number 71037. It is series 24 of the original LEGO Collectible Minifigures. Now, when these images were first revealed, we did a full in-depth analysis on every single figure, so do go check that out on my channel if you do want to hear my in-depth thoughts. So because we've already done that, I'll be breezing through these. They retail for $5 like many of the other collectible minifigures, and I personally think this is the best collectible minifigure series in a long time, featuring classic reinterpretations of characters like the Brown Spaceman, the 2008 Fantasy-era Orc, as well as the Black Falcon Falconer, which makes total sense for the Black Falcon's theme, as well as introducing a lot of new characters like the Aristocrat as well as the T-Rex costume guy and the Newspaper Boy. I think this is one of the most solid series in a long time, and I cannot wait to army build 3 minifigures on this list, the Black Falcons, the Brown Spaceman, and the Trolls, because those are just perfect for army building collectible minifigs. Moving on from that, we can take a look at our next collectible series coming out on January 1st. This is with the Super Mario theme. So set number 71413 is the LEGO Super Mario Series 6, which is surprising they're still doing these, and unfortunately they are coming in boxes, which is going to make identifying these characters pretty hard, although the trick is with these, they are always in the same spot on every box, so the moment that these release, somebody's gonna put out some sort of a guide in terms of which characters to pick up, and you can just kind of ask for a new box at your LEGO store and pick out the ones you want. Now personally, I am not the most familiar with the LEGO Super Mario theme, so do forgive me for maybe pronouncing some of these names wrong, but in terms of the characters we get, we have the Blooper, Green Toad, Ice Bro, Birdo, Bramble, Sumo Bro, Spike, and the Cat Goombas, altogether making up this large series retailing for $6. And for $6, this is a larger size of character than we typically get for Super Mario sets, and I honestly think that is a good way to actually give us more diversity in terms of the builds and larger builds for the characters themselves. I still think that these blind boxes for Super Mario present some of the best value you ever get for any sort of LEGO theme. You actually get more here than you typically will get for a $5 polybag. The piece counts are larger, they all have unique prints, sometimes they have unique molds, so altogether I am a fan of these blind bag series. I just wish that Super Mario would maybe just transition over to minifigures at some point, because I honestly feel that this digital scanning game has run its course, especially if you look at how many of these expansion packs are honestly just on clearance. I really do feel that LEGO needs to do something new to innovate with this theme. Moving on from that though, LEGO is continuing doing the same old for the game sets for Super Mario. I do enjoy playing with them, although I do think the game gets repetitive after a while, although I still will be collecting every single one. First of all, we have set number 71414, Conquidor's Noggin Bopper. I think that's the best name for a LEGO set in a while, just Noggin Bopper, just bonks you on the noggin. So love that set name. This retails for $15, which is pretty good. The main function of the set appears to be that you avoid getting your noggin bopped by the Conquidor there, and instead you can use it to scan with the Super Mario, Peach, or Super Luigi figures, which you can see on the back of the box. Overall, it's a charming set for $15. I think it's pretty okay, but it's just kind of a funny looking build. Moving on from that, we have set number 71415, Ice Mario Suit and Frozen World, retailing for $25 US. It's interesting that they're still giving us new molds for different suits for Super Mario, especially because they were typically doing those in $10 packs for the suit molds, but nowadays they're just kind of giving us the suits in individual sets, which I think makes sense. But because of that, it does make this set feel just not that great in terms of value for $25. What is interesting is that they do actually include a brand new ice element. This is a new mold for 2023. There's actually a couple of them. There is a brand new kind of little ugly rock piece in transparent blue for the ice, as well as a large platform for the ice itself, which is a really interesting mold to do for LEGO. Doesn't really feel like LEGO, and I can't wait to have this in hand just to see exactly how that platform feels. The point of this game is that you essentially, it seems that you kind of slide him across the ice and battle some of the enemies, which I think is an alright expansion pack, but maybe just a little bit overpriced. Moving on from that, we have set number 71416, Lava Wave Ride, retailing for $35 US. Again, this is another expansion pack for Super Mario, and this actually looks like it's gonna be really fun to play with. What you do is you place Mario or Luigi or Peach on the platform itself and essentially use the newly colored roller coaster pieces in red and orange to rotate him back and forth. These are the brand new kind of larger sloping ones which were created for the most recent loop coaster, so it's really cool to already get recolors for those. And altogether for $35, yeah, it's a little high, but I think this is just gonna be really fun. You roll him back and forth and knock off the enemies off the platform. Overall, I think this is going to be a winner just in terms of how fun it is to play with. From there, we have our next build, set number 71417, Flipperous Snow Adventure. And this is retailing for $65 US, which, man, that's a little high. In my opinion, that is a little bit high for what you get, but it is a fun-looking icy snow landscape build. The one thing I like about the set is that you can kind of treat it like its own ice-like landscape. It's not necessarily something that is super tied to specifically being part of the Mario franchise. You can reuse a lot of the parts for this to make your own stuff, which I really do appreciate is something cool about this. But moving on from this set, we go on to our next Super Mario set, 71418 Creativity Toolbox, retailing for $60 US and 60 euros. This comes with 588 pieces. And this is an interesting one because this appears to be a creativity toolbox where it basically just comes with your own pieces to build your own courses. It is the closest thing you'll see in the Super Mario line to one of those kind of creator brick boxes where you basically just have a ton of bricks to build your own courses. I do like the inclusion of kind of the micro-scale like houses in the background if that's what those are supposed to be, although I definitely do feel like this is going to be one of the sets that is really only reliant on if your kids are maybe or you are interested in building your own courses. There are some examples of the courses you can make with the set on the back of the box, which I do think is nice, although for the most part you're basically just getting a lot of standard plates and elements here, so for $60, it does actually look like it is fairly good value in terms of what you get, but it's definitely not the most interesting set overall. Moving on from this, though, we have our final Super Mario set for the January 1st wave. This is set number 71419, Peach's Garden Balloon Ride, retailing for $50 US. And honestly, I think this might be one of my favorite Super Mario sets yet. I really like how they managed to make a hot air balloon that is actually scaled to the Super Mario and Peach characters. The little house on the side for Mushroom Town is really great as well. And overall, I think this is just a really nice and charming set that is a great expansion pack to the Peach's Castle, which was a larger set released earlier this year. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with the price tag on this set as well. $50 is actually not bad for what you get, especially compared to the other Super Mario stuff. And yeah, in general, I'm a fan of the way this set turned out. But moving on from that, we can now take a look at our next LEGO theme, Ninjago. Now again, I have gone very in-depth into these Ninjago sets when they were first released. I will also go in-depth in a mega review of all these sets when they come out, so I will keep this very short. 71780 is Kai's Ninja Race Car Evo, retailing for $10. Great to get more $10 Ninjago sets, and I think this is pretty good value for what you get. 71781, Lloyd's Mech Battle Evo is a $20 mech dual pack, which I think is fantastic. Cool to get a brand new exclusive Golden Ninja Lloyd figure, and I like that the villain has an equal mech as well. 71782 is Cole's Earth Dragon Evo. This is a set that retails for $35 and is a actually really great dragon for Cole. I think this is one of the best Cole dragons we've ever gotten. They make great usage of the $35 price tag, and I love the tan highlights of the spikes here. Easily one of my favorite Ninjago sets releasing this year. Moving onwards, we have 71783, Kai's Ninja Mech Rider Evo, retailing for $45 US. I am a little bit mixed on this one because I definitely feel that the price is just a little bit too high. It's cool to get a mech that is riding a motorcycle. I love that concept, but I do kind of wish that maybe this was, say, a Nia set instead of just being a Kai set, especially because we already got a core mech for Kai as part of the larger monastery earlier this year. So getting another one feels a little redundant, although one thing that commentators said in our previous video is that you can basically use the mech as a Samurai X mech for Nia, and that is a really fun idea. I love that, and I definitely will be repurposing it for that in my own collection. 71784 Jay's Lightning Jet Evo is another $10 set, which is just alright. I think the car is a little more interesting. We've gotten this variation of Jet a lot of times in Ninjago before, but again, good that Ninjago is giving us $10 offerings. 71785, Jay's Titan Mech, retailing for $80, is easily my most anticipated set of probably all of January 1st. This is an absolutely phenomenal mech with a completely unique silhouette, with elbows, knees, and all sorts of interesting articulation and details being included. I love the massive oversized sword, which designers have stated is the largest sword ever included in a LEGO Ninjago mech yet, which is really cool how they're able to get that in. And overall, this is just a really good looking mech. Cannot wait to get my hands on it and do the review. Moving on, we have 71786, Zane's Ice Dragon Creature, retailing for $100 US with 973 pieces. This is our first six-legged dragon for Ninjago, which is a really interesting one because we've never gotten that before. What's even more interesting is that the set is a 2-in-1, which is a first for LEGO Ninjago. We haven't actually seen a 2-in-1 set that is of this scale. The last 2-in-1 Ninjago set we got was a much smaller set, Kai's Mech Jet for the Prime Empire wave, which was cool, but that one was much smaller. This absolutely reimagined the build, and while the set is a little bit goofy in the mech form, I definitely am a big fan of the way that it turned out and the fact that you can actually get 2 copies of the set to build it into something else, something I definitely will be doing. Moving on, we have 71787, Creative Ninja Brick Box, another first for Ninjago. This is a $60 set, which is a brick box that allows you to create your own new things for Ninjago. Now, funnily enough, the set does include 2 new characters of ninja apprentices. I do find it odd how they were able to have enough budget to create a new torso for these characters and not, I don't know, give us a character that we actually have been wanting to get. But if you only had enough budget to give a specific new torso, maybe that was all they could do. It's cool to get a brick box for Ninjago. Brick boxes aren't typically my thing because honestly, personally, I just have a lot of pieces lying around already, but it's a great way to get kids started with the Ninjago theme and to really start having creative build processes. Moving on from that, we have our only 4+ set of the wave, 71788 Lloyd's Ninja Street Bike, retailing for $10. Another good $10 set featuring a motorcycle for Lloyd. I think the last time we got a Lloyd motorcycle was back in 2014 for Rebooted. I could be wrong on that, but I'm thinking this is the latest one we got, so kind of cool to see that concept returning again, and the villains for this wave are pretty interesting as well. And finally, we have set number 71800, Nia's Water Dragon Evo, retailing for $20 US. Great to get a focus on Nia. Well done, LEGO. I really like that you're doing this for Nia, and the dragon is a really nice miniature version of the massive water dragon she got for Seabound. But with that, we can now move on to our next LEGO theme. And next up, we have LEGO Marvel. So Marvel this year for January 1st is split into a couple of different waves. We have a Spidey and His Amazing Friends wave, which is all 4+ sets featuring the Disney Juniors TV show. We have a standard Marvel Comics wave, which is really cool to get. And we also have Infinity Saga sets surrounding the MCU movies of the past. So basically overall, it's just really well-rounded in terms of what you get. Starting off with the 4+ sets though, we have set number 10789, Spider-Man's car and Doc Ock. This retails for $10, and the Doc Ock figure is reused from the previous wave, but the Spider-Man figure is brand new. The suit actually is kind of reminiscent of the PS4 Spidey, especially with the glowing white and blue logo, but obviously this is based off of the Disney Junior set. Not much I can say about this. It's a 4+ car set, although I do like the reusage of the crown piece recolored in glow-in-the-dark initially for the LEGO Avatar sets, but this time being used as webs, because why not? Moving on from that, we have set number 10790, Team Spidey at Green Goblin's Lighthouse. The new minifigures here are Sandman as well as Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy in kind of diving outfits, it appears. This honestly feels more like a Scooby-Doo set than a Spider-Man set, if you're being honest. Cool to get the roller coaster pieces in blue to have some sort of a cart going onto an abandoned shipwreck and treasure chest. I don't know what's going on with this set. It's a really interesting one to use for the LEGO Marvel superhero line, but I actually kind of like it. I do like the vibe of this set, and it does feel like a classic sort of set that we would see years ago. Moving on from this though, that one retailed for $35, which I think is actually pretty good value for what you get, especially with the large roller coaster pieces and the large cylinder parts. We have our final Spidey and his amazing friends set, 10791 Team Spidey's mobile headquarters, retailing for $50 US. Now, this is featuring a brand new mold for the front of the truck, which I think is a really interesting one. Sure, it is a very juniorized mold, and it's not for everyone. You're not the target audience here if you're an adult watching this video, but I actually kind of like it. I think it's a really unique build for this kind of a set, and I'm actually really digging the kind of bulbous shaping of the Spider-Man-like vehicle. Overall, this does also include a few new figures. The Miles Morales is in a new suit, as well as a Black Panther figure as well. Gwen Stacy is reused from the prior wave, as well as Rhino, but it is a good mix of characters overall.
But with that, we can now move on to the mainline Marvel sets. Much like many of the other January 1st Marvel releases, we will be getting a series of mech armor suits. However, there actually are some radical changes to the formula. Instead of using the standard Mixel mini ball joint limb pieces that gave them elbows and knees, this time the mechs have been increased by $5, retailing for $15 instead of $10, but they also include the new SCCBS core limb elements pioneered with LEGO Ninjago and Monkie Kid earlier this year to prevent them from having knees and elbows to make it easier for kids to pose them, but also, in turn, making them feel a lot more solid, and preventing them from having limbs that are way too skinny for what they are. First off, we have set number 76241 Hulk Mech Armor. Now this was the perfect set to give SCCBS limbs to, and I think my favorite thing is that for the legs, as you can see there, they're actually double upping the limb pieces. You actually have twice the amount of limb pieces you would typically see in a standard mech, because obviously the Hulk needs larger legs, and I think that makes total sense. This is a very strange one to have a mech for. I know it actually does technically appear in the comics, but it still feels weird to have the Hulk wearing his own mech suit, but I think it's pretty good for what it is and probably will be one of the more popular ones. 76242 is the Thanos mech armor. This is the second version of Thanos we've gotten in a mech armor format, but I think it's really cool because this time they actually included the full-on Infinity Gauntlet piece, complete with all 6 Infinity Stones already embedded in it, which is great to see from LEGO Marvel. Initially they started off as kind of, you have to hunt them down throughout different sets, but now they're just throwing them in sets willy-nilly to get the entire set of all 6 in one set, which I really do appreciate. The Thanos one here is using the Ninjago Season 8 blades for his helicopter blade type weapon, which I think is okay. They definitely kind of do the job okay, and the other thing is that this mech introduces the new finger pieces for 2023, used as building decals on some Monkie Kid sets, as well as fingers for the other Ninjago mechs. Finally, we have 76243 Rocket Mech Armor. Again, these all retail for $15 featuring Rocket Raccoon in his own mech, which I think is maybe one of the weaker ones of the bunch. I definitely don't think there's as much visual appeal to this one as some of the other ones have, but I really do like how they actually recolored the bush piece in brown to act as his tail sticking out of the back of the mech. That is a really funny detail. Moving on to the other Marvel sets, I also already dedicated a full-on video when these were first revealed, going very in-depth into these sets, so much like the Ninjago sets, we'll be very quick on these. 76244 is, yes, the Morbius set. It's Morbin time. Stand back, I'm beginning to morb because this retails for $25. The set name is officially titled Miles Morales vs. Morbius. You could have just called it the Morbius set and it would have sold, because this is the first LEGO set to include a Morbius minifigure, as well as an updated version of Miles Morales. The car build is actually really good for what it is. It feels like a Speed Champions car translated into the Marvel theme, and I really like these spider-like details with the teeth-like pieces at the front as well as the multiple eyes. Overall, I think this is a really cool looking car and probably one of the best ones we've seen from the original Marvel Comics line yet. Moving on from that, Well, if I had a nickel every time LEGO made a mech driving an oversized bike in the January 1st, 2022 set wave, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it's happened twice. This is Ghost Rider Mech and Bike, set number 76245, retailing for $35 US. It's a very, very similar concept to the Ninjago Mech Rider set, featuring pretty much the same exact style of mech riding a similarly sized bike, but this one is a lot cheaper, and it also has Ghost Rider, which I think is a big, big benefit. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any enemies to fight. You really only get the one minifigure in this set, which I think is a little disappointing, but overall the set is priced really well, so I can't complain too much. This just makes total sense to give us a Ghost Rider mech driving a bike. We've already gotten this bike in somewhat minifig scale, and we've already gotten the Charger vehicle as well, so it makes sense to just go wacky with it and give us something we haven't seen before. And this bike actually is pretty reminiscent to some of the designs we see in the comics, so it's not too bad in that regard either. Moving on from that, we have our 2 MCU Infinity Saga sets. Set number 76247 is the Hulkbuster Battle for Wakanda. And this retails for $50 and is probably the best version of the Hulkbuster we have ever gotten to date. The armor shaping on this is just so good, and for $50 the value is okay. I think it definitely could have been a $40 to $45 set, but $50 isn't that bad either, and overall it's just a really remarkably accurate set to the source material, especially compared to the much more expensive UCS style set, which wasn't even as accurate as this was to its source material. This includes a brand new Bruce Banner figure as well as Okoye for the Battle of Wakanda, which is great to see an actual accurate version for the MCU, but of course the highlight is that fantastic Hulkbuster. And finally, the last Marvel set that we have here is 76248, the Avengers Quinjet. Retailing for $100 US, this is a wonderful reinterpretation of the original 2012 LEGO Avengers Quinjet, which released alongside the first Avengers movie, basically bringing that original model into the modern era. The cockpit is incredibly accurate, you have all sorts of different detailing, and what's really cool is that they actually include a special set of stickers where you can switch over the Avengers logos to the S.H.I.E.L.D. logos. So you can actually switch the set over to mark its appearance in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. The set includes the main minifigures from the Avengers first movie, specifically Iron Man in his brand new outfit, which is kind of a newer style featuring the brand new helmet, Thor, which is a very similar minifigure to the one we got in the massive Thor's Hammer set, Loki with finally a screen accurate face and torso, as well as Captain America and Black Widow who sport arm printing, which is really cool. But overall, I think the value on this is fantastic. Getting the Quinjet fully detailed for $100 is really fantastic to see, and I think this is easily the best version of the vehicle that we've ever gotten in LEGO form. But with that, we have summed up all of the Marvel superhero sets coming out January 1st, 2023, and it's now time to turn our attention to what I think is probably one of the strongest themes releasing next year, and that is LEGO Friends. Just this year in 2022, Friends celebrated its 10th anniversary, and to commemorate this, they have completely rebooted the theme in 2023, placing the storyline in a different time period and following the adventures of a new cast of characters. Some of the original cast have grown up, and these are actually the children of some of the original cast, while others are brand new characters, something I've been wanting Ninjago to do for years now, and for whatever reason they just still have not done, but we'll see what Ninjago will do in the summer. Back to Friends though, we have a whole host of new types of builds and characters with a whole new design lead, and that brings us to each of the sets. Starting off with some of the smallest ones, we have a number of really good $10 offerings from LEGO Friends. Set number 41723 is the Donut Shop, retailing for $10. This is a really nice value for what you get for a particular smaller set, coming with 2 different characters with brand new hair pieces in new colors, as well as new molds for the characters themselves, and some specialized printed pieces as well to represent an electric scooter and a large donut. Not much else I can say here other than it's a very nice and charming small build. Next up, we have a 4+ set. This is 41724 Paisley's House, retailing for $40. Because it's a 4+ set, obviously this is a lot more simple than a lot of other sets, but it still does the job and gets the point across pretty okay. I am a big fan of the way they actually were able to depict the printed windscreens for the actual windows there. I think that came across very well, and overall the color scheme of the cool yellow and blue is a nice one as well, although there's definitely a lot more interesting houses down the line. Moving on from this, we have 41726 Holiday Camping Trip retailing for $20 US. This one is another 4+ set, and honestly one of the ones that I'm not the most interested in. We've already gotten a 4+ style camping van just like this for the LEGO Toy Story 4 line, and this kind of feels like a bit of a rehash or a smaller version of that. It's literally using the same exact pieces, but it's still cool to get another 2 sets of minifigures, especially because these are unique characters. From here, we go on to some of our mainline friend sets, and the first one here is 41727 Dog Rescue Center, retailing for $60 US, and this is a really fun one because you actually have some really interesting building techniques being used for the roof being slanted on one side. The sunroof is built into the slanted roof itself, which is really cool, and you also get 4 different mini dolls with brand new styles for the hair, some special dual molded elements, and of course a ton of different new animals, such as one dog that actually is using wheels on the back of its legs. So overall, it's just a really nice set to get in general, but Friends is just getting started from here. The next one is 41728 Heart Lake Downtown Diner, retailing for $30. Not really sure why the prices are jumping up and down when we're going down the list. Typically it goes from smallest to largest, but it's kind of all over the place for these sets. This is a really nice and charming $30 diner, which is probably the most in line with previous Friends sets that we've gotten in the past. It still is a lot better than anything we would see from LEGO City for a realistic style building, but I definitely do feel that this is the closest to what we would have seen maybe a few years ago, just with a little bit more detail. That being said, it's still a really nice building to flesh out a city, and I certainly will be picking this one up. Moving on from that, we have set number 41729. This is the Organic Grocery Store, and for whatever reason, this is continuing in the trend of LEGO grocery stores being egregiously overpriced, because this is $90 and 90 euros. I don't really know what's there to warrant that. I have yet to see photos of more detail on the inside, but man, this is a really good build, but it definitely just feels way too expensive for what it is, which is really unfortunate. Still, price aside, I like that they actually included a brand new color for the shopping cart piece. You've also got a whole host of different characters, as well as a new mold for the cat, and the van there is a unique build with the way the windscreen is set up there, but I think it's alright for what it is, although I definitely would have preferred not having the van and just having the focus be on the market itself. That way that would have probably cut the price down a little bit. Moving on from that, we have one of the better sets of the wave. This is 41730 Autumn's House, retailing for $70 US, and this is remarkable. It is probably one of the best realistic modern LEGO style of houses that we've gotten in a long time. I've not seen this from LEGO Creator or City in years, and it's been a while. This may actually be one of the best ones we've gotten that is minifigure scale. Again, if you don't collect mini dolls or use them, you can easily get the set and just not use the mini dolls and populate it with your own figures, because it is minifigure scale. You've got a chimney on the side, a fantastic realistic color scheme. The roof and teal is something that you would actually see in real life, so I do appreciate how they are actually using realistic colors for this, and you even have one of the original friends from the original 2012 line now in adult form to show the passage of time, something again Ninjago should really do. Moving on from that, we have 41731 Heart Lake International School, retailing for $100. And for $100, this is actually pretty good value. You get a lot of variety in the school itself. After the LEGO City School that we got this year, which was honestly really disappointing for what it was, featuring mostly just a road plate, a garden, and a school bus, this is a wonderful showing for what a school built out of LEGO bricks should be. And definitely is probably the definitive school that LEGO has ever made out of LEGO bricks for an official set to date. I definitely cannot wait to pick this up and use it in just standard LEGO City applications, and once again, it's really showing that Friends is putting an immensely strong foot forwards for this wave of sets. But then we get to the flagship set. This is one of, if not the largest Friends sets we've ever gotten ever before. This is set number 41732, Downtown Flower and Design Stores, and this feels like a mini modular building. You have a very unique angular black and purple build for the kind of furniture store here, which is such a unique vibe for it. You've also got a nice little street area in the center with the alleyways, as well as a completely separate building architecturally, and this is easily one of the most detailed original LEGO street sets that we've gotten in a long time, some of the detail even rivaling some of the modular building facades that we've gotten in the past.
Overall, this has such a cool concept to it. It easily is one of the best LEGO Friends sets they've ever done, and I really do appreciate the function which is included. The store is kind of like an IKEA, so the way it works is that you actually put together different pieces of the furniture, and it actually shows you bringing it out of the store and constructing it in your own home. So it's kind of funny how they really added a lot of details to have that play pattern be used from one building to another, moving in from the furniture store into the house across the street, which is very, very cool. And overall, for $160 or 160 euros, this also has remarkable value at an 8-cent price per piece ratio. But that's not all, because there is a massive amount of Friends sets releasing this year. 41733 Mobile Bubble Tea Shop is a $10 set, which is probably one of my favorite $10 sets in recent history. The build is pretty complex despite being a $10 set, and you get pretty much everything you would want out of a build for this that you would out of this small build. Moving on from that, we have 41735 Mobile Tiny House for $65 US. The price is a little bit steep on this, although the house is a lot larger than I initially thought it would be when the set names first came out, and the car build is pretty realistic as well. I definitely think they could have done without the camping area, which definitely did add a little bit of price to the set itself. I would have preferred a larger house rather than having the camping area itself, but that campfire is definitely one of the best campfires we've gotten in a LEGO set before, so I can't complain too much. Moving on from that, there are still more Friends sets. Set number 41739 is the dog rescue bike for $10. I think it's alright, but I definitely feel the build is a little oversized for what it is, but it is nice again to see such a variety of different $10 sets. And from there, we have a series of room sets. So 41739 is Leon's room retailing for $20, and they basically have a room set for each one of the new characters. So these will start to get fairly repetitive, but thankfully each one of them is completely unique and diverse, featuring different colors and different activities to do inside the room, highlighting the individual passions of each of the characters. This one is an art-focused room, so you have a lot of artwork hanging on the wall, as well as a nice bed overall to see. The next one, 41740, Aaliyah's room, retails again for $20, and this has a completely different style, featuring a movie being played on the cinema screen, as well as a lot of books, and even some tea brewing in the side corner of the room, which is a really nice detail. The next one, for whatever reason, is not a room set. 41741 is the dog rescue van for $30, which I think is just alright. This one, definitely the front could have been improved a lot. It does feel very blocky to me in the way that it's done overall, but it's just alright for a Friends set. 41742 is the Cat Hotel, retailing for $30 US. I love the brick-built cat on the top of the building, but overall the building is also fairly simple, but for $30, it's pretty much as good as they could have gotten. 41743 is the hair salon for $40, and for whatever reason 45 euros, so that's actually more expensive in Europe. This is actually a really nice build that reminds me a lot of the Paradisa sets that we got back in the 80s and 90s, especially featuring those large kind of glass hemispheres for the top of the roof there, which is really good looking, and it's really cool how they actually provide you with different hairstyles to give to the actual characters in the set. 41751 is the skate park, retailing for $50, and yeah, this one does feel a little bit overpriced to me. It definitely is because of those large stunts ramp pieces being used here. You actually have them recolored in the vibrant coral and the Keto Orange colors, so a lot of the price went into that, but because of that, you have a set that feels like it should be $35 to $40 max, but instead is $50. So that's a little unfortunate, but I can imagine that this will be really fun to play with. And you also have a brand new wheelchair mold being introduced for LEGO Friends mini dolls, which is great because previous wheelchairs we've gotten in the theme have been very clunky and brick built. Moving on from that, we just have two more Friends sets to look at, two more rooms. 41754 for $20 is Leo's room. You have some sports equipment set up as well as some cooking areas, which is a nice dichotomy to see a lot of different stuff in the rooms. And finally, we have 41755 Nova's room, which caused quite a stir when it first released, because if you zoom in on the monitor screens, the character in the set is actually playing the LEGO Bionicle Quest for Mana Nui fan game. It's wild that that actually made it into an official LEGO set that clearly is supposed to be the fan game that is being developed, which is a very, very popular one that got a lot of media attention when the developers first posted images of it, I think a couple of years ago, and it's crazy crazy to see that actually being referenced in a LEGO set. Now, if you look closely on these shelves as well, the character also has some small miniature multicolored statuettes, which I presume are meant to depict Bionicle characters because the character is playing the Bionicle game on her PC and monitor, so that is very interesting to see that being introduced in a friend set. Definitely a lot of Bionicle fans will be picking this one up just for the stickers alone, which obviously adds a lot of appeal to this, and overall I think with the color scheme being a dark blue and kind of a neon yellow color scheme here, this is one of the most attractive room sets out of the entire bunch for $20, providing fantastic value. But finally with that, we have summed up every single one of the LEGO Friends sets releasing January 1st, 2023. It's a whole lot of them, but the theme is rebooting completely, so it makes total sense they would do a ton. And now we can shift over to something completely different and take a look at LEGO Star Wars, which for some reason is only releasing 3 sets for January 1st, 2022. Although apparently there's a lot more to come in March and May, so maybe they're just splitting the wave up by then. Much like some of the other sets on this list, I did a full in-depth video surrounding the reveal, so I'll go very quick on these. 75344 is the Boba Fett Starship Microfighter, retailing for $10. It's one of the best microfighters we've ever gotten. The minifigure is not new, but it is in the cheapest form available, featuring arm printing, which is great to see. Not much else I can say about this, other than it's a nice little cute chibi representation of the main ship. The most anticipated set here for many people is 75345 501st Clone Troopers Battle Pack, retailing for $20, featuring 4 different unique 501st Clone Troopers and a brand new rangefinder piece for the first time in LEGO Star Wars history. The build itself is a really nice, accurate representation of the AV cannon, which is obviously scaled down by a lot, but it is still really cool to get a build like that, which would fit right in with microscale builds for LEGO Star Wars. But obviously the main focus of the set here is army building the characters, and this is definitely one that I probably will be picking up many different copies of the set just to be able to supplement my army. Really cool that LEGO is continuing to do this. I do kind of wish that it was focused on something other than the 501st Troopers. It's great to get them, and they're a really popular sub-theme of kind of the standard Phase 2 Clone Troopers, but I feel like we did just get the 501st Clone Troopers Battle Pack in 2020. It would have been cool to give us something else, like Commander Cody's Legions, for example. And finally, after incredibly high popular demand, we have set number 75347, the TIE Bomber. Now, the last time we got a TIE Bomber was in 2003, so it has been many years since we got one officially for LEGO. This retails for $65 US, which is pretty fair for the large scale of the build, and comes with Vice Admiral Sloan for the first time in LEGO form, which is very cool. The TIE Bomber itself is pretty perfect. I don't think I would have made many more changes to it, and I feel like this set kind of toes the line between being a set aimed for kids, but also clearly for adults. You have a lot of details that are just meant for adults to really appreciate, and it's interesting seeing how LEGO is trying to kind of toe the line here by making a set that is both playable and looks really good on display. I can definitely see the TIE Bomber and the 501st Battle Pack being some of the most popular sets that released this year, and for good reason, because a lot of fans have been wanting them for a long time, and LEGO is finally doing them in a modern form. Technically, there is one more LEGO Star Wars set though, although this is under the Brickheadz line. 40615 is the Tusken Raider. Retailing for $10 like all of the other Brickheadz, this is actually a really good representation of the character. I think the face is probably one of the most detailed and unique faces we've ever gotten for LEGO Brickheadz before, and overall it's certainly one of the most unique ones. It has one of the highest piece counts of any Brickheadz with 152 pieces, and it's just a really cool one to get. Maybe not the most popular character, but still a nice model to have on your desk. Continuing with LEGO Brickheadz though, LEGO Brickheadz is bringing back Lord of the Rings in triumphant fashion for 2023 after being absent from store shelves for over 10 years, which is really crazy to think of. First of all, we have set number 40630, Frodo and Gollum, retailing for $15. Frodo looks good. Gollum I'm a little disappointed with because he just feels really basic in the way he's built. I definitely would have preferred if they tried to do something a little bit more unique, maybe having him crouching on all fours or crawling along, just something to differentiate him from just being a standard cube, but Frodo just looks okay. The next one is 40631, Gandalf the Grey and Balrog. This is a really interesting one, retailing for $20 because the head shape of the Balrog is unlike anything we've ever seen from Brickheadz before. Maybe stuff like the raptor came close in an animalistic fashion, but it is still interesting to see this being depicted in LEGO form for the first time. Now I hope that LEGO will actually do a minifigure scale set for it, because a lot of people have been wanting that for a long time as well. Finally, we have 40631 Aragorn and Arwen. Arwen is really simple in the way she's constructed, just using basically standard pieces, but Aragorn is actually done really well. The crown is fully in the drum lacquered silver, which looks fantastic. The beard is using some really interesting building techniques to give us a small layer of brown above his mouth there, and overall, these Brickheadz are some of the best that LEGO has ever done, or at least these second two. And don't worry, fans of Lord of the Rings, you will also be getting a massive direct-to-consumer over $500 set coming later this year if rumors are to be believed. The rumors are currently saying it's going to be Rivendell. That is not coming January 1st, it will come, I believe, around March or May, so do stay tuned for that, and I certainly will be getting that the moment it comes out. And with that, we can move on from Brickheadz to our next theme, LEGO Minecraft.
Our next theme following Brickheadz is LEGO Minecraft. Now, I've personally already received and reviewed 4 out of the multiple sets that are releasing January 1st, so if you do want to see some of my reviews on the new LEGO Minecraft sets, do go check that out on my channel. However, there are a number of other sets, particularly some smaller ones, which I've not gotten a chance to take a look at yet, so we'll be taking a look at every single one here. First off, we have set number 21240, the Swamp Adventure, retailing for $10. This is another entry into the $10 LEGO Minecraft line, which I think it's just alright. It's cool to get the frog, which is a brand new mold in a smaller set, but the set itself is just okay in terms of the build, and the minifigures are nothing super special. Really, the highlight is just the brand new frog. From there, we have 21241, the Bee Cottage, retailing for $25 featuring a large-scale build of a bee animal, which is something Minecraft is doing very, very recently lately. I definitely hope they don't over-rely on giving us large-scale animal house builds, because they will quickly run out of animals to do it for, but I think the bee is pretty well done. It's cool to get the 2x2 piece with the stud in the center in transparent clear, very nice to see that, and the function to allow the bees to actually spin around the tree is a really nice one and accurate to the game itself. The value here is just okay. The house does appear a little bit small, but it definitely does use smaller pieces than you may expect to have the mechanism in the tree to spin the bees, so I think overall the value is just alright. 21242 is the End Arena, retailing for $25. The most important thing here that we're getting for the first time is the shulker box, which I do not have this in hand, so I still do not know how that is hovering in place. They may just be cheating and there's like clear pieces underneath it that they've edited out, but as of right now it looks like it's just floating there, which is very odd, and I'm very excited to see exactly how that works in the set itself. The arena itself is very simple for what it is. It's basically a chibified version of the Ender Dragon head, which looks okay but is a little bit lacking in terms of detail. It is Minecraft, so it is supposed to be blocky, but they definitely have done it better in my opinion for a lot of the other mobs, especially because the snout is really, really short in comparison with the actual thing. Still, it's cool to get our first actual End update sets. For years now, they actually put out the End update a while ago, I believe over 4 or 5 years ago, but we never actually got any LEGO sets featuring the houses or the special plants or the mobs that you see in the End nowadays, so it's cool to actually see that being referenced in a LEGO set after so many years. From there we have 21243, the Frozen Peaks, retailing for $35. This set is also just a fairly average one. The highlight is seeing some aspects of the Cave and Cliffs update being introduced here, like the stalactites and stalagmites growing from the cave, but overall it's a fairly standard set, which for $35 is just okay in value. The next set, 21244, is the Sword Outpost, retailing for $45. This is a very visually striking set, and it was really fun putting these sword together. Unfortunately, I kind of wish they included maybe the bricks to have the full sword be brick built. I think that is a very promising build to maybe put out a line of sets with brick built LEGO Minecraft props, because this was a really fun one to put together. But the rest of the set is very shallow and doesn't really feel like a legitimate defense, because you basically have a lot of open spaces for the enemies to walk into. Still, that being said, it is a very striking one to have on display. It certainly looks very cool and is something different compared to the animal houses that we're used to getting. Next up is 21245, the Panda Haven.
Retailing for $50, this is one of my favorite Minecraft sets releasing January 1st because of the large-scale panda and the fact that you can actually display it either sitting on its bottom or on 4 legs and just rotate the placement of the furniture inside the panda itself to reflect the actual changes in orientation, which I think is a really fun thing to see. Lastly, we have 21246, The Deep Dark Battle, retailing for $65, featuring the Warden for the first time in LEGO form, which actually makes sense to get, featuring what is one of the brand new bosses for the Minecraft game itself. Interesting to see the shulker pieces also being used here as some sort of a detail on his spawning area, and overall for $65, having this little temple build is actually really good and feels like you're getting a good amount of stuff for the value here. And finally, that has basically summed up the LEGO Minecraft theme, so we can now turn our eye to the next theme, which is LEGO Dots. Now, Dots is collaborating with Harry Potter for their March to May waves, but these ones are just the standard sets that we've been getting from Dots for a long time. For $6, this is set number 41801, My Pets bracelet. I've stopped collecting every single Dots bracelets because there's just so many they put out every single year, but this one is okay, I think. Nothing super interesting. The next one, though, is actually one that I probably will pick up just for the tiles alone. 41802 is the Unicorns Forever bracelet, and what's very interesting to me is that they actually have these flower or shell-like pieces being printed in opalescent transparent purple, which is the first time I've seen that color particularly being used with a print. Very cool to see that, as well as some sparkle kind of hemisphere clear pieces. Overall, this is just a really good parts pack, and if the pieces are not available on Pick-a-Brick, I probably will go ahead and pick this up myself. Moving on from that, we have 41803 Extra Dots Series 8. There have been 8 of these, retailing for $4 US, and the dots here are okay. We're getting some of the opalescent satin transparent black pieces, but nothing here really stands out too much compared to some other innovations they've done with the dots in the past, like introducing the jewel pieces or having some charms and whatnot. This is just recolors of stuff we've gotten before. Moving onward to some of the larger sets, 41805 is the Creative Animal Drawer, retailing for $25, featuring an actual drawer that can be used in real life, which is cool. For me, one of the highlights here are the dark blue pieces being included, particularly the larger and smaller curves. Those will be very, very useful for standard building applications because I don't think they've appeared in that color before. 41806 is the Ultimate Party Kit, retailing for $50, and this actually seems like it comes with quite a lot for what you get. This would be perfect for a kid's birthday party where you actually have 6 different things to give out for $50, which I think is pretty good value here. You've got stickers, you've got felt pieces, you have a lot of different bracelets and charms and dots, and of course cupcake pieces. Altogether, this is just a really fun set to have to hand out during a party. Finally, set number 41807 is the Bracelet Designer Mega Pack, retailing for $30 US. This includes some skull charms for the first time, which I definitely feel like will be useful for something. I'm not sure what, but I feel like that'll be a useful thing to have in general. The opalescent transparent satin purple is a very cool color to get, and I actually really like a lot of the charms here. You've got a planet one that's kind of similar to the classic space logo, you have a peace sign, you have a popsicle, you have roller skates, of course a skull one, a kitten one. Overall, these are just really interesting molded pieces, which I think are really fun ones to have in a designer pack in general. But with that, we have summed up LEGO Dots, and it's now time to move on to LEGO Technic, something completely different. Technic is also only pretty much releasing 5 sets for January 1st, and they're smaller than the usual releases for this year. That being said, it seems that we're getting a lot more in March and in the summer waves, so maybe they're holding off until those. First off is 42147, the Dump Truck, retailing for $13 US. This is a very, very small build featuring some of the newest panel pieces. These are truncated angled panels for the sides of the doors there, which is cool to get in dark blue, but overall nothing super interesting going on with the build here. The same can be said for 42148 Snow Groomer, also retailing for $13. Cool to get the transparent windscreen-like piece in a smaller set, but overall it's nothing super out of the ordinary. The fun stuff are when we get to some of the licensed Technic sets. 42149 is the Monster Jam Dragon, retailing for $20. This doesn't quite outdo the Shark from this year, which was such a fun build, but it comes close. I think this is my second favorite Monster Jam truck, and I really appreciate how LEGO is basically going out and giving us every single one of the Monster Jam vehicles, from the truck to the bull vehicle and now to the dragon, because the stickers on this one are really, really fun, and I love that you actually have the tan claws being used for the dragon-like appearance at the top of the build. The next one is 42150, the Monster Jam Monster Mutt Dalmatian set, which is just okay. I think the dragon one is a little bit more interesting to me just visually speaking, but this still does a really good job of capturing the real-life vehicle, and I do love the decals on the side. And finally, 42151 is the Bugatti. This is $50 US, and this is another one of LEGO's smaller mid-scale race car sets. I love the inclusion of the LEGO logo on the side of the car here, and the shaping is actually quite good. I'm not an expert on this particular car, I probably butchered the name there, but it does look pretty good in terms of the way that it's built, featuring the classic Bugatti style of the front engine intake there in the curve aspect, and overall you can actually see a lot of unique new pieces being introduced for this set in particular, especially with the panels being used to make up the sides. And with that, we have taken a look at every single LEGO Technic set, and now it's time to move on to our next theme. And for our next theme, we'll be taking a look at LEGO Monkie Kid. Now, I personally have already reviewed every single one of the brand new LEGO Monkie Kid sets. I've also put out a mega review on the entire theme as a whole, so if you do want to hear my in-depth thoughts, do go check those out. And again, much like some of the other themes on this list, we will be going through these very quickly because of that. First off, we have one of our $20 offerings, which is one of the smallest Monkie Kid sets we've ever gotten. This is Monkie Kid's Combi Mech, set number 80040, which I think, unironically, is probably one of the best LEGO Monkie Kid sets we have ever gotten. For $20, this is an incredibly highly posable mech, featuring knee articulation on a mech of this scale, which is unlike really anything we've seen from LEGO before, particularly when doing smaller mech-style builds like this. I hope they'll do this for stuff like Ninjago and other themes, even maybe do this for some of the Marvel mechs, because this should be the perfect template for a mech, and it's just so fun to play around with when you have it in hand. The set is built to combine with the set number 80041 Maze Dragon Jet acting as a jetpack on the back of the mech. This is a little bit weaker than the mech itself in my opinion. I definitely feel like this could have benefited from just a little bit more detail in terms of the pieces, but overall it's not bad. It's still cool to get this particular build as a $20 set because again, Monkie Kid has not been doing a great job of giving us smaller offerings. These are basically the smallest offerings we've got to date, so I do appreciate being able to actually get these for the Monkie Kid theme. I just feel the mech was just a bit of a stronger one to get in general. Moving on from that, we have set number 80043, the Yellow Tusk Elephant. This gives us a full-on elephant build, which is completely unique compared to stuff that LEGO have done before. The closest analog is the Chima Mammoth Stomper, but that was more like an AT-AT, where this feels more like an actual build for an elephant. They actually were able to use the LEGO Trolls blimp piece for the belly of the elephant, which I think was a really smart piece usage, and it has a lot of fun play features. Unfortunately, the price of $80 is just really high for what you get. It's only 70 euros, so I feel like 70 is a lot fairer than 80. I don't really know what was going on with the price of this one, and definitely would have preferred if it was a little bit cheaper. Moving on from that, we come to our penultimate set, 80044, Monkie Kid's Team Hideout. This retails for $140 US, which I felt was okay, but a little expensive. But in Europe, it's only 99.99 euros, so 100 euros as compared to 140 US. Again, the value in Europe is just so much better than what we're getting in the US. 100 euros or dollars for this set, it is an easy buy because this is an absolutely phenomenal landscape and building set. I just feel like the price discrepancy between different regions is just too great for this, and it's remarkable value in one region and a little overpriced in the other. But still, it is a very fun set to get with so many hidden features. You can actually transform most of it to reveal some hidden technology, which is a really fun thing to be for a hideout, and overall it's just an interesting expansion that is modular and can connect to the previous modular buildings for the Monkie Kid line, which is my favorite thing about this set. And finally, we have set number 80045, the Monkey King Ultra Mech. This retails for $160 and is basically the successor to the original Monkey King Warrior Mech, which if you're in the US is still available for sale, so kind of odd having both of these on shelves at the same time. Overall, this does feel like a substantial upgrade to the previous set, but I do kind of miss the fact that the previous one did also include a building and a side mech, whereas this one is just focused on the main mech as well as a detachable jet, which is integrated very well, but definitely could have been used for something a little bit better. The head unfortunately only swivels back and forth and is not rotated on a ball joint, which is a big miss to me, and I definitely feel that this mech could have been improved by a lot of the more modern building techniques that we've seen in larger Ninjago mechs, but it's not too bad, and if you haven't gotten a chance to get the original one, this is a very suitable replacement as well.
But moving on from LEGO Monkie Kid, we can now turn our eye to the next theme, Disney Princesses. Now, Disney is celebrating a major anniversary this year in 2023, so they actually have a lot of really exciting stuff planned. However, a lot of those sets will be coming around the March to summer time frame, such as the House from Up and so many other different items, and for now we just have a few kind of smaller sets just to kind of whet our appetites for what's to come with Disney in the future. So starting off, we have set number 43210, Moana's Wayfinding Boat, retailing for $35 US. This is kind of a remake or redo of the original Moana's boat, although this is a slightly different version of it. I do actually really like the way that this is done. I like the way the sail has very intricate detail in terms of the printing. Sure, the build itself is a little bit boxy and rectangular, but I guess it is accurate to the actual thing, and I do appreciate some of these studs on the side building techniques in order to capture this set. For $35, this feels like remarkably good value. The boat is pretty substantial. You've got a lot going on here and 2 different mini dolls as well, which makes this one of the better priced Disney princess sets in recent history. Moving on from that, we have set number 43211, Aurora's Castle. Now, this is a 4+ set, so obviously the building techniques are very, very simple compared to the usual. It retails for $45, but of course, a lot of that cost does go into the very large pieces being used in the molds for the front of the castle, and of course, that is all printed. Every single decal you see here is fully printed, so that's why the price is so steep. 4+ castles aren't really my thing. I think I've gotten a couple of them from the Disney Princess line, especially the ones that do look really good, but this one is honestly just a little bit average to me. It does feel quite expensive at $45, but again, that's 4+ for you. And the minifigures are really good. Next up, we have 43214, Twirling Rapunzel. This retails for $10, and yeah, this is actually a really nice one. You have Rapunzel in the special opalescent transparent satin purple dress. The satin purple color seems to be new for 2023, first introduced with dots and now continuing on to Disney Princesses, and it appears that you actually are able to twist the key in the center of the model to allow the character to spin, which I think is a really nice way of doing things, and for $10, it's just a nice, charming little set. I feel like they could do these for a lot of Disney princesses, do $10 sets with one minifigure, one mini doll, one little animal, and a way to make them twirl on a stand, so we'll see if LEGO will continue to do this in the future. Next up, we have set number 43216, Princess Enchanted Journey, with 320 pieces for $65 US? Huh. That is really high. That is over a 20-cent price per part ratio. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean everything. You've got a horse in the set, you've got the hot air balloon molds, which are specially done in the gold and the pink. But for $65, this is just really high. LEGO is doing a lot of these really expensive and honestly kind of overpriced Disney Princess sets for a while now, and this is just yet another one. It's also 65 euros, so I mean, at least there's parity there. Not really sure why this particular set warranted such an expensive price tag. It looks pretty nice, and I like that they're combining princesses from different sub-themes. I just don't know why it's that expensive. This should be maybe $50, $45 at most. But with that, we can now move on to our next theme, and that is LEGO City. Now, similar to LEGO Friends, LEGO City is also getting completely overhauled this year. It has a brand new design manager, Simon Lucas, who previously was in charge of Monkie Kid and Ninjago, so you can bet that we're going to see a whole different variety of types of sets, which is very exciting because I really do feel that City needs to continue to innovate itself and breathe new life into the theme. Now, a lot of the more exciting City stuff we apparently are getting this summer, if rumors are to be believed. We're getting a return to both the Arctic and deep sea diving sub-themes, so that should be very exciting to see. But as of right now, we're getting more of the standard traditional City stuff, with Stunts continuing to give us more sets, which is great because Stunts is actually really fun to play with. First off, we have set number 60356, the Bear Stunt Bike, that retails for $8 like many of the other bikes. It is using a recolor of the LEGO Movie Collectible Minifigure Series 2014 Panda head. That headpiece has been used in a lot of different characters and is still being used in the Build-A-Minifigure towers today, and overall, It's a nice looking figure. I think the design is pretty funny, kind of feels like it came straight out of video, but it's maybe not one of the more interesting ones, at least compared to what's coming next. Because next up we have a reference to one of the vintage LEGO Classic Space sub-themes, Unitron. This is set number 60358, Cyber Stunt Bike. And it's really interesting because I haven't seen a lot of people directly calling back that this is a clear reference to what has come before, but if you look at it, this is actually very clearly supposed to be, I believe, a reference to Unitron, right down to the minifigure design and color scheme and the way that he has his visor set up. This feels like a modern reinterpretation of one of those classic vintage space figures from that sub-theme, and I really appreciate that and how they were able to go all in on the color scheme of this bike. This is a day one purchase for me. I love the way the figure looks, and for $8, it's pretty good as well. Moving on from that, we have set number 60369, Mobile Police Dog Training, retails for $30 and 20 euros, making it priced really well in the Eurozone and just priced average/okay for City in the US. Now this is a really funny set. You've got a very cute minifigure reusing the cactus pieces in dark blue to act as a dog training suit. It's also kind of dark because it implies that the cops in LEGO City are training their dogs to maul people. I mean, that's what that suit is there for, so I don't know, just don't think too hard about it, and it is a fun set to play around with. That minifigure is really fun, and they are recoloring the dog holder in blue, which is great to see. We initially got one in green. There was one that was supposed to come out in black, but it was in a set that was cancelled, so now we're getting it in blue, which is nice to see here. And overall, the vehicle is okay. It's kind of just a standard police truck with a bit of a dog training course around it. The highlight is that dog training suit minifigure though. That one is really fun. Moving onwards, we have 60370 Police Station Chase. This retails for $40 or 35 euros and is a 4+ set, so it's a very simplified build. Honestly, this one isn't that interesting to me. It's just okay. It's good for a 4+ kind of police station style build. It's just really not my thing. And the price tag in the US for $40 does seem pretty high to me, but again, that's 4+ for you. Moving onwards, we have 60371, Emergency Vehicles Headquarters. This is actually one of the sets I'm really looking forward to because for the first time it's combining the hospital sub-theme with an ambulance, and we don't get ambulances quite a lot, with fire as well as police. So you've got all sorts of different vehicles here. It retails for $70 but 65 euros, which does feel steep, but a little bit more in line with what you typically would see from City. City is one of the most expensive lines to collect on LEGO's whole portfolio for whatever reason. I guess it's because they use a lot of larger pieces, but it is still, if you compare it against other themes, City is even sometimes more expensive than a lot of licensed themes are. So it's kind of crazy how the prices are really high here, but this does integrate a road plate into it, which is something I do like. They went really hard on the road plates earlier this year and last year, and I actually was able to collect every single LEGO set which featured a road plate to combine them into one massive city, which I've actually featured on this channel, and I'm excited to get more, although unfortunately it does seem that they've scaled them down. The road plates have been pretty controversial, so I can see why LEGO might be wanting to take some of them out of sets. They do arbitrarily increase the price of sets by a lot, which isn't fun, but I also love how modular they are and how you can actually build your own city out of them, so pros and cons. Overall, this set does feel on the expensive side for what you get, but really the highlight is that ambulance, which is built really well. The fire helicopter and the police truck, I mean, we've seen those 1,000 times before, but it's cool to get this sort of building, which kind of combines all the different aspects of emergency response. And the color scheme is actually not that bad, despite trying to factor in the teal of the emergency vehicles, the neon green of all of the emergency lines, the red of the fire, and the blue of the police. Moving on from that though, we can take a look at one of my most anticipated city sets. This is 60372 Police Training Academy, retailing for $100 or 90 euros. And this is a really fun one. I think this is really emblematic of the kind of design shift we're seeing with LEGO City nowadays, where you have just a massively playable set. Again, these new sets are overseen by the person who used to oversee Ninjago and Monkie Kid, so it makes sense we're getting a lot of fun stuff like this with a lot of play features. This can basically be seen as kind of an American Ninja Warrior style training course. You have a very clear progression here where you have characters climbing up the sheer face of the wall on a winch. You have them then going across the monkey bars of the roller coaster track there, zip-lining down, and on the bottom there is a brand new corkscrew-like element. I'm very excited to have that in hand and see exactly what it can be used for, but the corkscrew is used to move minifigures from one platform to another, all while trying to balance on it and fight against the obstacles. So this is just such a fun set.
$100 is a lot. $100 for this is probably a little bit too much. I would have much preferred it to be 75 or 80, maybe 85 at most. 100 is just too much for this. 90 euros is a little closer. I mean, that's a little bit better, especially because the euro-dollar parity is pretty close nowadays, so 90 is a little bit better for this, but I honestly still feel that this should have been maybe closer to 85. But, you know, that's just my opinion. City is, again, pretty expensive. It does come with a horse, though, which is nice, but overall, just a fun set to get, and I definitely will be picking this up, or I believe the land is actually sending me this one. I have to check my listings here, so I can't wait to do a review on this and see exactly how playable it is. Moving on from that, we have 60373 Fire Rescue Boat, retailing for $30 or 20 euros. Again, another example of the set being much better valued in the Eurozone rather than the US. This is a floatable boat, so it does float on water for the fire theme. It is actually a lot smaller than you may initially expect. It does feel a lot larger when looking at it from a distance, but actually looking at it right now, the boat is actually really small. The minifigure just barely seats there, and I think that's nice that they're able to put out a boat at a pretty small price point, well, at least a good price point in the Eurozone, and you've also got a firefighter with a jetpack-like water attachment on the back, which I think is a really fun inclusion as well. I probably won't be picking this one up myself because I have 1,000 other boats already, and this one doesn't really feel like it does anything super different from some of the other larger boats, but it is still nice to get a boat like this for LEGO City, especially at a small scale. I just wish it was 20 bucks in the US as well. Moving on from that, we have 60374 Fire Command Truck. This retails for 55 euros and 65 US dollars, and yeah, you're gonna start seeing a trend here, with 502 pieces featuring a mobile deployment unit for a fire truck itself. I actually kind of like the way this is built. You've got a lot of interesting building techniques with the cargo pods on the side of it that feel like they can open up, and you have all sorts of things that can deploy, from a remote controllable drone as well as a kind of almost like a bomb disposal vehicle type thing. You've got the robotic arm there, so that's pretty interesting to see. Overall, the truck feels like there's a lot that you can do with it playability wise. I'm not sure if I'm going to be picking this up at $65. That's really high for this. Even 55 euros is a stretch, but for what you get, it's not a bad truck, and it certainly is one of the most interesting fire trucks we've seen in a while. It just isn't really my thing. Getting the hair again, though, in the brown color is nice to see. From there, we have one more fire set, 60375. This is a 4+ set, fire station and fire truck, retailing for $40 US, and oh, you guessed it, 35 euros. So this is a 4+ set, but it does integrate a road plate, so I do have to get it because I am trying to get all the road plate sets. It's very simple, not much I can say here. It's just what you see is what you get, with a little miniature kind of very simply detailed fire truck with the LEGO Super Mario Luigi's Mansion ghost attachment piece being used for the fire hose there, which is very interesting to see that piece being appearing in other sets other than those sets. But overall, this is just a fairly standard one. I'm only getting it for the road plate. From there, we have a few more city sets. 60382 is the Vet Van Rescue, retailing for $10. This is another 4+ set, and for a $10 set, this is actually really good. It comes with 2 minifigures and 2 animals, one of which is a new color for the pug mold. This is a winner in my opinion. For a $10 set, this is really fantastic, and I can definitely see this one being really popular with folks wanting to get different colors and styles of the animals. From there, we have another $10 set. 60383 is the electric sports car, and again, another really good $10 set. For $10, this is a fairly simple vehicle, but really simple is all you need for a set like this, and I like how it even has a charging station for this almost sports car-like vehicle. Overall, I'm a fan of the minifigure as well, and how his jacket does actually correlate with the pattern on his car. He's really got that kitted out there. So this is a good-looking set. I probably will be getting this at some point. Not a high priority for me, but I think it looks nice on a standard city street. Moving onwards, we have a really fun one for $20. This is 60384, the Penguin Slushy Van. It features a brand new recolor for the penguin suit guy, which is a very nice color for the blue and white. Definitely one that makes total sense to have for a penguin mascot. And overall, this is kind of along the same veins as the ice cream truck and whatnot that we've seen from LEGO City before. Just a really fun set to have in general, and I love the way the front of the truck is actually adorned with a penguin face. 20 bucks actually seems fair for a city set like this for the first time in a while. A lot of these sets have been feeling very overpriced, but 20 for this is actually quite good. Moving on, we have another $20 set, 60385 Construction Digger.
Unfortunately, I can't really say the same for this one. While the previous Penguin van had 194 pieces, this only has 148, and sure, one of those is a relatively large scoop element, but this feels like it really should be 15, and if you were to take out the side builds, it definitely would have been 15 or maybe even 12, so 20 for this does feel a little bit high to me, but then again, if folks don't already have a construction-like vehicle, this does the job just fine. Moving onwards from there, we have a recycling truck, set number 60386 for $30 and 35 euros. Huh. That should be the other way around, but hey, you know what, I'm not complaining. For once, a set is actually cheaper to get in the US than anywhere else, and the teal color scheme on the recycling truck is really good. I love the recolor of the kitten piece in white, and I also really appreciate that the civilian character has a brand new torso print as well, kind of featuring a nature or environment-like print with the trees there. You've got a recycling station. It seems that the recycling truck actually does work, and we rarely ever get stuff like this for recycling trucks in LEGO, so this is overall just a really fun thing to get in general, and I'm glad LEGO is actually giving us a recycling truck as an official LEGO set. I probably will be picking this up because of the teal pieces, the color scheme, and I think it'll just look good in my LEGO city in general. Moving onwards, we have 60387 4x4 Off-Roader Adventures retailing for $30 and 30 euros, and this is interesting. It has a very unique look and feel to it that almost feels like a souped-up Ninjago style vehicle, which I guess makes sense given the design lead. It also has a tent and some terrain for it to roll over, so overall a pretty interesting build. Definitely want to have this one in hand to see how it plays. Maybe, I think it's I don't know. I was gonna say it's a little overpriced, but then again, I look at it and it does feel pretty large, but I don't know if I'm getting tricked by the large wheels, making the rest of the set seem big. This is something I'm gonna have to have in hand to really gauge the value on, but cool to get the kind of dark brown or the reddish or dark orange hair in the corner there. Moving onwards from that, we have a really interesting set that is not specifically tied to any other theme. 60388 is the Gaming Tournament Truck, retailing for $40 or 45 euros. So again, another one that's cheaper in the US. This is an interesting one, because we have never seen anything like this for LEGO before. It's an esports arena, which is a full-on gaming vehicle. You've got kind of specialized minifigure avatars being showcased on the top there. I really wish that those were actual minifigures. Those look like really cool figures to get, and I just wish that they maybe had the physical avatars in the set itself, but overall you can see the way that the set looks. The facial expression for the character in blue there playing the game is a dead ringer for Ninjago's Cyrus Borg, so I don't know if that's a coincidence. I don't know if we're getting a Cyrus Borg in the future, and they kind of snuck that headpiece in early for LEGO City, but it's just so similar to the actual animation style. The facial expression is perfect for him that it cannot be a coincidence. That is literally supposed to be Cyrus Borg. So cool we're getting that. For $40, it's actually pretty good value. You use the Harry Potter book element to the side of the truck there to allow it to fold open and be a large screen, so that is a pretty large element being introduced here. Seems like there's a gaming trophy to be won as well, so overall this looks like a pretty fun set, and with 4 minifigures, 2 of which, or actually 3 of which, are featuring unique torsos, this is a winner in my book, and I definitely will be picking this up. From there we have 60389. This is the custom car garage, retailing for $60 and 50 euros. So yep, here we are back again with the Eurozone prices being better. I love the inclusion of a brand new pink welder's helmet being recolored in pink with a new print on it. That looks really good to me. You've got a lot of figures with the new torsos here, but the most fun thing about this set is that it actually includes a feature for you to be able to swap around the different pieces of the cars themselves. That is such a fun feature to include, and I like how the color schemes are close enough such that you can realistically put some teal parts on the orange car there, because it does have some orange stickers, and maybe soup up the orange parts on the teal car there. Overall, there's a lot of modularity in the way these cars are built, and I also really like how on the side of the garage you even have some rotating tiles where you can use to, say, choose to swap one piece of the car onto another. So this is a winner in my book. For the price tag of $60, it's pretty high. For 50 euros, it's a lot better. Still think that 50 is probably the perfect price for this. I don't even think it should be 45. I think 50 is pretty good. So this one isn't that overpriced, but it definitely is a little more overpriced in the US compared to the Eurozone. From there, we have another $10 set. City still has more. 60390 is the park tractor for $10.
Not much I can say about here. The squirrel is one that we have seen before in this year's January 2022 wave, so we can move on from that. 60392 is the police bike car chase, retailing for $10. I like how they're able to do a $10 set featuring 2 different vehicles. That's really nice. But then the crook vehicle is also very, very simple as a result. 60393 is the 4x4 fire truck rescue for $10. Yeah, this is a winner. This is really good value for $10, and it has a pretty beefy souped up truck as well as a tree build. This is actually really good. I would have expected this to be 13 or even 15 to 20. So for $10, this is fantastic. Big fan of the way it turned out. We get the dual molded fire helmet, which is a nice one to see as well. And overall, I think this is probably one of the best $10 sets. But the best $10 city set, in my opinion, is this next one coming up here, 60394 ATV in Otter Habitat, because finally, after appearing in Harry Potter in a glitter transparent blue color scheme and not actually having it appear in any other color since, we finally are getting the otter mold in a realistic color of the kind of dark orange or darker brown color here, which is wonderful. So cool to finally see them recolor that. They did it with the deer, then they did it with the hare, and now we finally are getting the otter as well, which started with Harry Potter, so very happy to get this as a realistic animal. Certainly hope it appears on Pick-a-Brick to be able to pick it up in bulk, but yeah, overall, $10, 2 animals, 2 copies of the animal is wonderful. The ATV looks fun, and you've got the tree build as well, so this is probably one of the best $10 sets in my opinion. But with that, we have summed up the entirety of the LEGO City line, and moving on to our next theme, we can take a look at the LEGO Avatar 2 sets. So much like many of the other themes on this list, I have once again done reviews of every single one of the sets, as well as a mega review of all the sets in the wave previously, so I'll be going through these fairly quickly and sharing my general thoughts. 75575 is the Ilu Discovery set for $25. This is one of the best priced Avatar sets in a while, and definitely one that makes a lot of sense to get for the movie itself, because this was a creature that appeared in quantity, so if you wanted multiples, it is easy to stock up on it. I think for $25, this is pretty perfect, featuring some specialized vinyl elements with special printing on them, a brand new head mold for the face there. This is a winner and the smallest Avatar set yet. 75576 is the Skimwing Adventure, retailing for $35, and this is another one where I really do appreciate the way that the set came out. I do feel like it would have been fun to incorporate some sort of a feature where the wings fold in, but overall, everything else about it is really great. The printing of the copy that I received for the tan on the side of the face was unfortunately really faded and scuffed up. Not sure if that's just me or it's going to be an issue across all of them, but other than that, this was a really fun set, and it is a remarkably posable one as well. From there, we have 75577, the Mako submarine for $60 or 55 euros. This one I feel like was probably one of the weaker ones of the entire wave just because of the way the front of the cockpit is designed. It just isn't that accurate to the movie, and there's a lot of gaps for a so-called submarine. Overall though, the rest of the sub is actually built to pretty remarkable accuracy. The wings in the front unfortunately do not fold up and down, but that may not have been revealed to LEGO until the movie actually came out. But everything else about the set is fun to get. It's cool to get so many different side builds for the aquatic wildlife, but it also means that the price has been inflated a lot because we're getting 3 different pieces of underwater terrain. Next up, we have 75578, the Metcayena Reef Home, retailing for $80 and 80 euros. This is a really remarkably well done set because it depicts different layers of underwater levels where you've got the deep sea represented by dark blue, you go slightly upwards and you've got a layer of water for the surface of the water in light blue, white, and clear, and then finally you have the building on top of the water. So overall, a very interesting and unique way to give us a LEGO set that represents different layers of depth in the ocean, and I think this is a really well done set overall. For the price tag of $80, it does feel maybe a little bit high, but it's not too bad, especially compared to a lot of the other offerings coming out this year. And finally, we have my favorite set of the Wave 2 sets. This is 75579 Pyakon the Toolkin and Crabsuit for $100 or 100 euros. This provides really great value because you actually have 3 brand new molds being introduced for the upper head of the creature itself, as well as the 2 side jaw mandibles, which are done really well. The dark blue color scheme is fantastic, and you can even bend the body upwards or downwards based on a large click joint in the center of it. Overall, it's a really nice way to represent represent a fantasy whale-like creature. The crab suit itself is also very poseable and looks really good on display, especially because it uses a lot of more complex building techniques like studs on the side stuff and whatnot. And in general, I think this is easily one of the best Avatar sets they have done so far. But moving on from Avatar, that about sums up our look at all of these 5 sets, and we can take a look at our next LEGO theme. So there's only 2 themes left here, and one of them only has 1 set, so we'll take a look at that briefly right now, and then save the final theme for last. First off, this is the Speed Champions release. We're only getting 1 of these for January, but this is based off of the Fast and Furious movies. Set number 76917 is the Too Fast, Too Furious Nissan Skyline GTR R34, so interesting to see them doing more licensed cars. I really appreciate that LEGO is doing movie cars for the Speed Champions lineup, and I'm hoping they'll do it for stuff like, say, a Batmobile, or the DeLorean, or a lot of other classic movie cars that really feel like I think deserve an actual LEGO representation in accurate detail. This retails for $25 US or 25 euros, much like many of the other cars, and personally, I am not a car expert. I have seen some complaints online about the detail of this model in particular. I believe that there are some inaccuracies, especially pertaining to the way that the actual shaping of the car is done, at least around the front of it, but I definitely want to have this in hand to really be able to gauge it for myself and just see how accurate it is compared to the real thing. So look out for a review coming soon on this set. But with that, we have summed up our only Speed Champion set of the January 1st releases. Hopefully we will be getting more in the March and summer releases. But with that, it's time to turn our attention to the final LEGO theme releasing January 1st, 2023, aside from Duplo, which we didn't really cover, but I'm not really sure if there's any interest in seeing those. This is the Harry Potter line. And Harry Potter is giving us a lot of really special, unique sets this year. There's only going to be a couple of minifigure scaled ones, and the rest of them are these house banner sets. So let's take a look at these so-called gimmick sets first. 76409 is the Gryffindor house banner, retailing for $35 US. This is kind of a successor to the Harry Potter books series, where they basically did, I believe, 6 different books. They covered all the different subjects in classrooms, so they figured it was time to move on and give us something new. And so this time we are getting the dorm rooms of each house forming a large banner of the set itself, which I think is a really interesting way of doing things. It looks like you have a massive 3D style of image where you have the positioning of the portrait moving depending on the angle you look at it, which is really cool. The box art on these is very odd because it really basically just shows the banner itself and doesn't really show what's inside, so kind of interesting how they were able to focus mostly on the banner and not the inside, but once you unfurl it, on the back of the box you can actually see the inclusion of all these different details. You've got the 3D images, you have a whole Gryffindor banner kind of dormitory style setup here, and I think it's a really nice and cozy environment, just a very interesting style to do for a set. And this actually looks like something you can hang on the wall. It literally has a brand new piece which is meant for it to be hanged on a wall on a screw, so that is a really cool piece to get. I probably will be stocking up on a ton of these because it is literally a piece made to mount a screw onto it that can be attached to any sort of LEGO plate, which is something I've been really wanting to have ever since I started making my own LEGO minifigure dioramas, so I will be stocking up on a ton of these pieces. But yeah, overall a pretty interesting set to get. 35 does feel a little high for what you get here because a lot of it is just a flat facade, but I'll have to see it in hand to see exactly how much depth there is to it. Moving onwards, we have 76410, the Slytherin house banner. This is the same exact thing, except the portrait is featuring Salazar Slytherin instead of Godric Gryffindor, with a snake wrapping around him, which is pretty funny to see here. You have all sorts of great minifigures as well. The minifigure selection here is really fantastic. It's cool to get both named characters as well as generic characters for the house lineup, and overall this is a really nice way of doing things in terms of giving us the suggestion of depth. You can have some underwater aspect of things in the grates behind the kind of stone walls there. You kind of have almost like a fish tank type thing set up behind it, and overall this feels a little bit more interesting to me, at least than the Gryffindor one, just because of the visual style of it. Moving onwards, 76411 is the Ravenclaw house banner for $35 US. This is, I believe, not one that we actually saw a ton in the movies, so LEGO was kind of just creating its own thing here, but I think it's done pretty well in general. We also get these named minifigures all representing specific characters in the Harry Potter franchise, so very cool to see that. And of course, the Rowena Ravenclaw portrait here is a much larger one than some of the other ones featured in some of these sets, whereas a lot of them were just smaller pieces. This is a much larger window piece, which is really interesting to see in general. Finally, we have the last set, which is 76412, the Hufflepuff House banner. Again, $35, featuring Helga Hufflepuff there. And again, a set of 3 different named characters from that particular lineup. And I like the nod to Fantastic Beasts with the Niffler and as well as Newt Scamander's portrait on the side of the Hufflepuff banner as well. And finally, we can now move on to some of the more anticipated minifigure scale sets for Harry Potter. And for January, we're only getting 2, but that's because Harry Potter typically does a lot of March and May releases, so we may be seeing more stuff there, and especially for the summer. But the first one here is 76413 Hogwarts Room of Requirement, retailing for $50 US. This is one of our only sets we have ever gotten based on the final movie in the franchise, because previously LEGO designers actually stated that that movie was a little bit too dark to be featured in a LEGO format. Clearly they have changed their mind because we are now getting LEGO sets based off of it, and it's really cool to finally get a lot of minifigures for characters we haven't ever seen before in these particular outfits. The fire-like basilisk is really interesting to see. I love how they recolored the basilisk piece in orange to represent it being made out of flames, and it's also really cool to get the Grey Lady Ghost there, which is a brand new character that we've never seen in minifigure form before, but makes total sense to give us as a ghost-like character. One of the coolest things about the set is that you can actually disassemble the fiery snake there and use it to have different aspects sticking out on the sides of the wall. So you've got flames erupting from the ground, as well as bits and pieces of the snake wrapping around the different walls in the Room of Requirement, which mirrors that one scene in the final movie. And overall, this is a really nice expansion to the modular Hogwarts collection. I still personally miss the modular collection they were doing back in 2018 with the first lineup of Harry Potter sets, because I felt like those were just closer to the movies in general with the gray roofs and a lot more detail. Those felt a little bit more adult oriented, whereas these ones with the sand green roofs feel a little bit more kid oriented and call back to the older LEGO Harry Potter sets, but overall it's still nice to see the theme going strong. And finally, we have what is probably my most anticipated set of the Harry Potter lineup. This is 76420 Triwizard Tournament, The Black Lake. Now, the last time that we got a set based off of this particular subject matter was all the way back when the Goblet of Fire movie was first releasing around 2005. LEGO has never revisited it before, which is really odd because it feels like it would be a really fun playset. And this proves it, because this is just a really well done fun set, retailing for $45 US, which I think is actually pretty fair for what you get here. The minifigures are all new, featuring Harry Potter with the gillyweed gills on the side. You have a mermaid figure, which has accurately represented the character for the first time in LEGO format. The initial one we got was a little bit goofy looking and didn't really quite look like the movie. And of course we have the Victor Crumb in his shark format, which is a really fun figure to get, featuring the shark headpiece in sand blue for the first time. We also have some new molds for some of the smaller characters and creatures of the Harry Potter universe, and a really fun and clever floating mechanism, which shows Ron and Hermione floating in mid-water with a chain dangling down, all suspended by these kind of hidden away little beams to replicate the floating effect. Overall, this is a really visually stunning LEGO set. The teal and sand green of the underwater archway looks really good on display, and I like how they actually have the jumping off point as well. Overall, just making this a really fun set to have in general, and one that I'm very, very excited to pick up. But with that, we have summed up our look at every single LEGO set releasing January 1st, 2023. This has been a massive list, over 180 different sets, which is an absolute crazy amount of sets to be releasing in January of 2023. This is, I believe, more than they usually release because there are a lot more themes concurrently going on. Of course, there will be even more themes coming out later this year. There are actually rumors of a Sonic theme where you can launch the minifigures around in glass spheres to kind of go along a course. There's rumors of a new 4+ original LEGO theme. There are rumors of Indiana Jones coming back, and actually a full leaked set list coming out later on this year. So 2023 is shaping up to be an insane year for LEGO. I can't wait to see what else they have planned, but overall, these have been the January 1st, 2023 releases. Now, typically at the end of these videos, I do something where I kind of talk through my favorites. It's already been a very long video, so I'll kind of be very quick and just talk about some of my favorite sets from each theme. The gift with purchase set for the Blacktron Invader is fantastic. Cannot wait to get my hands on it, and I'm super excited to be able to play around with it. The White Rabbit from Creator has some really good shaping, and those alt models are fantastic. I really appreciate the Lunar New Year Parade for giving us some specialized minifigures and packing in a lot of functions into a really fun set. The Great Wave LEGO art set is phenomenal. The LEGO Minifigures Collectible Series 24 is one of the best original series we've gotten in a long time, and the LEGO Super Mario Lava Wave Ride looks to be really fun to play with. From there, Ninjago is giving us the incredible Jay's Titan mech. That just looks absolutely phenomenal to me, especially with the shaping, the knee articulation, everything about it is just so good, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. After Ninjago, we move on to LEGO Marvel, where the big standout is the $100 Quinjet. That is just so accurate and so good looking compared to the movie. And then we move on to LEGO Friends, and there are so many standout sets in LEGO Friends, I can't even just name one. The Autumn's House set is phenomenal. We've got the International School, which is the best school LEGO has done, way better than the city one. The Downtown Flower and Design Stores, if I had to pick one, is easily the best LEGO Friends set we've gotten, maybe ever. It's just so good. And Nova's Room, I mean, I have to include it for the Bionicle references. Star Wars is giving some fan favorite sets with the 501st Clone Troopers Battle Pack and the TIE Bomber. Very excited to get those. And for Brickheadz, just so fun to see the Lord of the Rings license returning once again. I think the most interesting LEGO Minecraft set to me is the Deep Dark Battle. Honestly, they're not quite as impressive as some of the previous waves. I think they're fun or average in general, but the Deep Dark Battle is definitely the most interesting one. And for Technic, I just really love the look of the Monster Jam Dragon. Monkie Kid gave us a phenomenal $20 mech, which is incredibly well priced, as well as a really nice Monkie Kid's Team Hideout set, which is remarkable value for 100 euros in the Eurozone, and not quite that good of a value for $140. Disney Princesses is just alright this time. I think the standout set here is the Wayfinding Boat, but I can't wait to see what Disney is doing later in the future. For City, I love the Cyber Stunt Bike, that looks really fun, and of course the Wipeout style LEGO City Police Training Academy set is a very fun one to pick up as well. Moving on to Avatar, the standout set is the largest one, Paikon the Tulkun, although I do like these two smallest sets as well in general. And of course, for Harry Potter, we have the Black Lake set, which I am very excited to get in general. But those are just my favorites, and I do really want to hear about yours, so do let me know in the comments which ones you're planning on picking up, because LEGO is doing some fantastic things January 2023, a really fun lineup of sets to take a look at, and also let me know which ones you want to see reviewed. I may actually be getting like every single one of the Friends sets to do a big review on. I don't know if that video is like gonna even be that popular because I don't know how many people are interested in Friends, but I'm hoping it will be because Friends is a really good LEGO theme and is easily the best theme that is releasing this year, January 2023. I think the set diversity and the types of builds and the quality of LEGO Friends is unlike anything that they've done in the theme before and just completely blows every other theme out of the water. So I cannot wait to get my hands on those incredible sets, and of course, a lot of fun stuff with Ninjago Core, but bring on the summer wave. I want to see what they're doing for the new show. Monkie Kid is strong as usual. Star Wars, despite only having 3 sets, 2 out of the 3 are going to be very popular, and overall, this is just a fantastic wave for LEGO.
Alright, and with that, we have summed up our look at every single LEGO set releasing January 1st, 2023, minus a few polybags or promotional stuff here and there. These are basically the ones that are available on Shop at Home right now. Now, it's quite exciting because in a few moments of this video being released, all of these sets are about to go on sale, and stay tuned for tomorrow because I probably will be doing some sort of January 1st LEGO haul. Really excited to get my hands on some of this stuff, especially the Ninjago sets. Quite looking forward to those with the Jay's Titan mech. Ninjago's been one of my favorite themes, so always good to get more stuff, especially from the core wave of our main heroes. And with that, I think we've about summed up this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. And again, comment down below, what sets are you most excited for? Thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.